now I'm officially cooked. And no, not the way that you think I'm cooked, but also maybe the way that you think I'm cooked. Wuthering Waves has a huge problem, and that is so many characters are non-skippable. These past few characters that we have been getting ever since 3 months ago when we first got the release of what they were going to look like, Augusta, Ayuno, and all of these other characters down the line, they have just been getting better and better. And I thought that Cardathea was just going to be, you know, the new standard, but it just seems like Curl keeps upping their game with each and every character. Furlova, Galbrenna, Ayuno, Augusta, like each character is so unique. Even characters like Augusta, I don't even have a team prepared for her, but I was so down to getting her because I just loved her story. I fell in love with her character. I already was thinking about pulling her when I first saw her in the live stream 2 months ago with the introduction of Septimont. So she was already on my list of people to go ahead and pull. And when she came out, she was everything plus more. And I'm in disbelief. Like, I'm actually in shambles. And my Astrite funds are suffering for it. I have literally had no chance to skip any character. And this is exactly why I made a second account for this reason, because I wasn't willing to spend or drop thousands of dollars, but I couldn't for the life of me skip these characters. I just couldn't. I realized when I saw Cantarella's Resonator combat, I knew making a second account was the best decision I could have possibly made. I'm not spending thousands of dollars on it, but like that account is completely free to play. All the characters and weapons on there were free to play, pulled, and I couldn't for the life of me skip Cancerella. But like I said, on my main account, I didn't have any use or need for her. She was a very niche kit for me. I didn't have any builds built around that character, so there was just no point of me pulling her. Plus, I think there was another character after Cancerella that I really wanted or something like that, so I just couldn't pull for her at that moment. But I knew that was the moment where I started to actively invest in a second account so that way I can pull for these characters, because I literally can't. These characters that are coming up, and even now the past characters, they're not skippable. They are just simply not skippable. They are too good. You see their animations and everything, and you're like, oh, you know, this is cool. I really like this character. And then you see their story and what part they play, and then you fall in love with the character even more. And now it's just like, now I have to pull for them. But I do feel bad for free to play players only who don't want to spend any money. Like, it really is challenging out here, and I'm trying my best to save on both of my accounts. But I do always make sure to have a plan set in place before I just start pulling characters. I don't just start pulling characters on a whim. I plan for them and their weapons and ahead of time for my Astrite's sake, okay? That way I'm not spending or gambling too much on a character that I just wasn't sure or wasn't even thinking about getting to begin with. And that is what my plan with the upcoming patch. Like, the upcoming patches are stacked. We get 2 brand new characters. We get Galbrenna and Chilwan. I'm not even sure how to say his name. To be honest, I'm not too much of a fan of him. He's like the only new character that I'm just not a fan of. Like, maybe I'll fall in love with his story when I actually see it, but so far I'm not too interested in him personally. Even when we saw him being, you know, released a couple of months ago, I wasn't really interested in his character or anything like that, but that might change. I don't know. Like, I could end up really liking that character. So, but for the first patch, I am gonna pull for Galbrenna and her weapon, because I heard that she needs her weapon for whatever reason. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to save my guarantee for Galbrenna and her weapon. And then for the next patch, I'm going to pull for Zani for my Phoebe. So Galbrenna will be for my Chun-Li for my fusion team, because I don't have a very fusion built team on my account. And then the second patch will be for Spectros, because I don't really have Spectros. So I'm really just building up those teams, because there's still a couple of characters that I still want to get from past patches. Specifically Camellia's banner. I don't know when she's ever going to be released. Like, she's still a very cool character, even though she was released way back when. I don't know when her rerun banner is, and it's kind of scaring me. She might try to rerun with a Furlova, or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But I just know that a lot of us, me included, are cooked these next few patches, especially if you're free to play. Skipping these characters is quite literally not an option at this point, and I'm actually starting to really get scared for my funds because if I can't pull this character, I might just lose my mind. I might just lose my mind. So I'm trying to prepare as much as I possibly can for these characters and their weapons, potentially their weapons. We'll see. I'll probably have an alternate version for them, but it's going to be stacked and it's going to continue to get stacked, which leads me on to my next point that Curl is really cooking with these updates. Like, I remember when Curl first started and their voice acting wasn't great, the story wasn't as interesting, and the characters, they were okay, but they weren't really memorable. You know, they didn't really have like a special spot in our heart. But now that Curl has grown so much with each character, giving them a spot in the story, making them memorable, making them have actual stories, like there's still characters to this day that I'm waiting for them to become playable. Like Scar is a fantastic example. He was there from the very beginning along with Furlova. We got Furlova, but we haven't heard anything from Scar, and I think it's because he's like a full-on villain. I think with Furlova she was like morally gray or whatever, so it's like she wasn't really good but she wasn't bad either, so she was ultimately a playable character. But I think because Scar is like an actual evil character, it's not possible to make him playable, which is really unfortunate because that is quite literally the only male character next to Brant that I would actually think of pulling for. So it's kind of unfortunate with that. But Curl is just exceeding my expectations. I don't want to glaze too much because obviously they still have more work to get to, but so far they are so generous, and honestly I'm not too worried. Now if this was any other gacha game, Hoyo, I'm not trying to point fingers, but like if this was any other gacha game, I would be terrified with these new characters coming out, because the thing with Curl is that they're generous. They may be overly generous. They give you enough resonator pulls and weapon pulls just for you to get in there and get you to pity or whatever it is. Like they're going to give you stuff to help you pull for those characters or those weapons. It's not always going to be a lot, and honestly I'm not complaining. Like I'd rather get something than nothing, but they are overly, and in my opinion they are very overly generous with their players, listening to what people need and listening to say, hey, we don't want you to be spending so much money, but you know, we want it to feel like an option, which I really love. So with that being said, yes, I'm terrified, but I'm not worried either. Like these next few patches are going to come out with a lot of different events and stuff like that to do to earn Astray. So honestly, I wouldn't worry too much. Me personally, I'm always focusing on getting the characters first and foremost, and if they need their weapon, then I'll pull it later on. But usually there's something else that they can use that I have on my roster. It's going to be stressful. I know that for myself. My bank account in Astrite's form is going to be drained to the bare minimum, and I'm just now starting to grind up that stuff, okay? Luckily though, there is no characters that I want to pull on my alt account. I just want to hopefully get Lupa's weapon because I didn't get her weapon when she first released. Yeah, I'm pretty sure those are the only things I want to get on my alt account. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below if there's any characters that you're planning to pull for or their weapon. Let me know down below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye everyone.